Hello, welcome back to Once the Force, the Star Wars podcast. I'm joined as usual by my co-host Dave and George. I'm Phil, of course, and tonight we've got another special episode. This time discussing the Series 4 finale of Rebels, the last ever episode of Rebels. So, good evening, gentlemen. Are you excited to be talking more Star Wars?
Of course.
I am, yeah. It was going to be maybe a lackluster start, but the finale certainly, I think, finished in a much stronger position than I expected it to after the lead-in. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. But looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, it was. It's been a topsy-turvy season, but at the end, vaguely, they pulled it through.
They pulled it through.
Given
the last sort of 5 minutes.
Given where I was a week ago, their work has exceeded all expectations.
This is true, but speaking of that, George, as you all know, you weren't here the past couple of episodes. You haven't had to give us your thoughts on the past few episodes.
Right.
Do you want to kind of give us your rundown, your breakthrough, and
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I can't do half an hour like what you guys did. I was good to miss that because I have some real strong opinions. Especially
I think I held up your end of it.
Yes, you did. It was like we had the extreme in favour, we had the mid ground, and then we had the high ground, which is where I stood.
Yeah.
And oh dear, so right, I'm gonna try and whiz through it. Kanan's death, the episode, just to call it that. We knew he was going to die. The day he cut his hair in a trailer, we knew he was going to die the same day. And I liked the death. I thought he needed to go first of the Rebels crew. He definitely needed to go first of the Rebels crew. I'm happy he did. I thought it was the right timing to do it. The sacrifice, it was a great moment. The Force and all that stuff. I loved that. The follow-up episode, there was some really cool, like sort of each individual character, they grieving moments. Which I think, Kanan earned that. He could just move on without him. So there's some real good stuff in that. That means it felt filler, but in the right kind of way.
Yeah.
And then you had probably one of the moments of the series where Thrawn just destroys Governor Price, which is a sad reminder that he hasn't been here this season.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Well, I'm not talking the finale. I'm talking up until the finale. Where they put Thrawn has been so sad compared to sort of the heights they had him in season 3. So looking ahead, I really hope there's a plan in there, and I really hope there is a very good plan in there because I trust them. But I don't want to say Thrawn's been let down this season because every scene he's had, he stole as he always does.
Yeah.
But there's not been enough for someone who's your villain. I'm trying to think what's next. Sorry, I think my microphone's playing up.
No, you're fine. No, you're
is it all right?
Yeah.
Right, brilliant. Sorry,
World Between Worlds was next, George.
No, Wolves at the Door, then World Between Worlds.
Oh yeah, Wolves at the Door. Yeah, sorry.
So that was Jedi Knight and Doom.
Oh, Wolves at the Door. Was that the Dumbo one where they, instead of the pink elephants running around in a circle, you had the wolves on the door? Then, right. Oh, see, to me, they were like one episode. It just was a double arc. Trying to think back to part 1.
It was generally getting to the rebel, the Jedi Temple.
Yeah. So Wolves at the Door ended with
him going in the door,
going through the portal. So at this point, Sabine's distracting the governor.
I remember.
Cracking character, actually. I thought he was my favorite.
I thought I didn't know he was going to die. He looked like the guy that's in episode 6.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, look, it's one of Palpatine's mates, but he's dead now.
But he's my favorite part of those 2 episodes.
Can I have a favourite part of those episodes? I don't know. I don't think
it says a lot about those episodes, but still.
Basically, I think the fair thing going into it is me saying I don't like Mortis, which I think has an effect on everybody that watched it. Your opinion of this arc will come down to your thoughts on that Clone Wars arc. Very intrigued to meet someone that never saw Rebels but saw this. Never saw Clone Wars but saw this. It felt like that scene in Thor when they're just circling around the hammer, set up camp. It was like very stereotypical. We've took this land and we're going to wait and do experiments on it. And then you get the second episode, which is to me one of the worst episodes, one of the worst things in Star Wars lore. The ability to, well, they actually said, did the Emperor say it in time and space? And I sat there with the Doctor Who music on in my head, like I just completely phased out. And unfortunately, there was no David Tennant, it was Ezra. I was disgusted. I mean, well, actually, no. If I go back to my opinion before the finale, because I think now it's important looking back with Ahsoka, I was disgusted that she was saved by Ezra, because I thought this season we'd get the answer of did she die?
Yeah.
And for some reason, he pulled her out and created a horrible, horrible time machine in Star Wars. And I didn't like the Emperor being in the gigantic chocolate frog card and using the Force lightning whip. That was, I mean, the Emperor's powerful, but come on, he's not Indiana Jones. I did not like that. It was great hearing Ian McDiarmid back. I was a bit disappointed that he had the great scene on the hologram. No, I'm not trying to fly. I'm talking like with the episode at the start where he spoke on the hologram to his mate, and obviously then we get him in the end. But I didn't like him in the chocolate frog. That really put me off. I didn't like that scene. I didn't like that Ahsoka got tricked through. I was happy they didn't save Kanan. It would have been too cheap, too obvious. And I hated that. I just utterly despised that episode. But that being said, moving on to the finale, they've now put Ahsoka in a place. This is all I'm going to say, like before we get into it. But now seeing what they're doing with Ahsoka, I feel that it could help one day. But I still feel it's a bit cheap. Like she's the sort of Gandalf of Star Wars that she just can't die and is getting reborn every era.
We should say, warning: there are going to be spoilers if you haven't seen the finale. If you haven't seen the finale, what are you doing watching this review? Go and watch the finale first. Yes, so we might as well get on to that. I mean, yes, so George, you weren't here for the last 2 episodes, and of course, yes, in that last episode, we did do a half-hour rant, or more to the point, I did a half-hour rant on how time travel should not be a thing in Star Wars. Never should have been, never, hopefully never will be again. We'll get on to how it probably won't ever be again in a minute. So we'll start off with A Fool's Hope, which of course is the first episode. Now, the way they did this, it's a 90-minute finale, but it's American way of doing things. So it's 3 22-minute episodes, kind of spliced together. It's a weird way of doing things, but when you watch it on the Blu-ray, it will be one continuous arc, I'm assuming. But anyway, the Pulsar episode brings us back to Lothal, brings us all back to where it all began, really. We first get Hera on the Ghost, which we haven't seen the Ghost in quite a while, actually.
I got very confused because it just cut to her in space. I was like, I missed an episode. Like, it felt...
Yeah,
I was there. I had to reset the link. Like, wait, have I started the finale or is this the one before?
Yeah. No. So, so the Ghost basically comes out of hyperspace and goes down onto Selos, which, if you remember, is where the Rebels left Gregor and Wolf back in season 2. They land next to on an awesome kind of platform built on top of the AT-AT, like they had done with the AT-TE, but of course bigger and with only 4 legs. And of course, inside they find Ketonio, they find Hondo Anaka, which is still my favourite characters from both Clone Wars and Rebels, and Melch. Melch actually will come up later, and actually, that were a few cool things.
Is that the pig?
Yeah,
yes, the Ugnaught, yeah.
I love the Ugnaughts anyway, but I just thought that was brilliant. So yeah, apparently it ends up with them chatting, Hera saying how she struggled to escape Lothal. They all go down and go, okay, so what's happening? When's the Alliance coming in? How's it all going to pan out? And of course, at that particular point, you find out that it's not an Alliance mission. It's purely to do with Ezra. And at that point, you have everyone going, well, yes, for Ezra, they would do it. I love the quote by Hondo, which is, Hera, for that boy, there's nothing I would not do. It is a brilliant moment. Yeah, go on.
It was just the nice thing about that is that it doesn't spoil anything that's in that New Hope crawl.
Yeah, that's
it's their first. The Rogue One is their first defeat
victory,
of the Empire. So this could have nothing to do with the rebellion. They couldn't go in there and win a mission here. So for them to then say no, there's nothing to do with the rebellion. It's like, you are paying attention. Okay, this doesn't need to have anything to do with them. So I really like that element of it. That this is a solo mission. We're doing this for the boy. We're going to try and save Lothal.
Indeed, it plays well into both the canon of course, Rogue One and Episode 4, but it also plays well into the show and the family mentality they have built up over 4 seasons. So it's a nice play for 4, 5, and 6, but it's also a good play for Rebels. And from there on, we go to Lothal, where we see Sabine and Ezra. Ezra's meditating outside the base. And it's, again, coming off of the grievance from losing Kanan, you see Ezra step up to the plate in ways that you would hope and expect, but also it's satisfying to see. We'll get more into that as we go along. They then kind of a hologram, and they go, right, he's seen what's coming, and they have to do their plan now, which is a bit tricky for Hera coming back, but they get the go-ahead. And then you get the first kind of glimpses of what was to come in these episodes, which I love. So you have, at that point, you have Governor Price, Arinda Price, sitting down at her a desk, looking over the failed effort. She's just believes she's going to be executed. The destruction of the TIE Defender project hasn't catched the rebels. Thrawn's on his way back. She is just broken. But then Azadi Ryder contacts her via a hologram, offering an exchange of the location of the rebels for personal amnesty, which I was shocked. That was, for me, was
I didn't buy it, George. Did you?
I did.
I've seen it. It's not just a Star Wars thing, but it happens in like every franchise.
All over it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was a good little twist.
I mean, I don't even know if it was a twist. It was there like, oh, he doubts him in the first scene. In the second scene, he betrays them. But it's an animated show, so he's actually still a good guy.
If you read Thrawn, you'll know more that Ryder's a little dodgy. But yeah, fair play. It's a. I like it though. I like it. I thought that if they had pulled it off, it would have been a great twist. However, though, of course, it turns out he doesn't. I love that bit when they give themselves up. It's like, actually, no, we have backup. They have Sabine flying around blowing up things with rockets, and basically at this point, it's just bringing everyone home, bringing everyone back to Lothal, and setting up for the finale. So we'll go over this episode, then we'll go into the other two in a second. So I love this episode personally. I thought that that was a good little twist. But yeah, you guys give me your opinion on that.
What, on the episode?
Yeah, on the first one, on the penultimate one.
What I loved, and I think they actually told us in Rebels Recon, if I remember, we have a battle, and we've had many battles in Clone Wars. Not Clone Wars. Yes, Clone Wars and this, obviously, and Rebels. This may be one of the first times where I feel there was a battle with individual characters, where there's actually a lot of established characters in this scene. And it felt quite grand from a TV perspective.
Yeah.
And even though it was so low-key and you knew exactly what was going to happen, it felt like, okay, this is the kind of starter, like we've got the finale coming up after, that here's like a sort of character battle piece to end this first episode to get you hyped up for the next one. That's how I saw that final battle, because although it was stereotypical, it was kind of great to see everyone in action.
What wasn't stereotypical was the wolves being brutal. That was
cool. Well, it's like the Eagles in Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Yes, but for Rebels, as for the audience it's set at, which we do have to remember, it is, although it's for fans, it is still aimed at more of the younger
kids.
Audience. Yeah, it's still a brutal moment.
I thought they'd eaten her, because there was a scene where, and then I realized this is a TV show, they can't eat, but then they don't cut to her for a couple of minutes. I thought, wait, have they low-key just eaten her? and then they pull it back. I mean, just think, it's a cartoon show like Clone Wars, and that had a clone trooper being kissed by Asajj Ventress on the end of a lightsaber, like a kebab.
That was I love that moment. But...
That was one of the darkest moments in like animated history. But I did enjoy the first episode. It got me slightly excited, but again, I'm left gaping. The problem I've had with this season of Rebels is that, yes, Thrawn is apparently the villain, but there's been no villain. It's felt like this series has been revolved around that this series is finishing, whereas it doesn't feel like the series is finishing because of the story. It just feels like it's finishing because it's finishing. I don't know if that sounds weird, but that's how I felt.
I get what you mean.
Agreed for this episode, but not for the finale, but we'll get onto that.
The finales, I think, finally struck everyone, but I thought as the build-up 20 minutes for the finale, I thought it did a fine job, and it kind of rectified a couple of issues I've had over the last couple of months. But this definitely felt like one of the better episodes of Season 4. But it kind of...
Sorry, Josh.
It just makes the last two episodes seem very irrelevant. Like, it just almost forgets that they happened, and then it's more the finale which addresses that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, for my part, I really enjoyed it. Like George said, that battle scene when they're all running around, flying around, and it looked expensive. Like they've actually spent some really good money on getting all those ships flying and explosions going off, characters all over the place firing guns. It looked incredible. What we got to keep going is an animated Saturday evening cartoon. the work that goes into that is incredible. And with Joe as well, I think we needed more Thrawn certainly throughout this. I mean, he comes into play really heavily in that second episode, where I thought he was showed how true badass he was and what he wanted to do.
For sure.
But I thought the episode leading it was fine. Again, when I was watching it, like, 90-minute finale, but it's not. It's broken up. Like, it must only take, what is it, just over
an hour and 10 total, isn't it?
When you get it finally. But it worked well. It worked as a lead into that final episode, which, in my honest opinion, led to maybe 5 minutes of the finest part of Rebels. And McDermott as well. We'll get onto him when we get the finale, because
yes,
my word, it was good. But yeah, so a great episode that leads into a better finale is probably my thoughts on that.
Indeed. So as I loved it. I love that battle. That battle, as you've said, there's a lot of effort. It's probably why we've only got 15 episodes this season, is for the amount of detail and effort they put into that fight scene, which is just incredible. And again, what's to come in the finale? Yeah, it was the perfect lead up. It really was, into what was a cracking finale. So we'll get on to the finale now. So we start out with Ezra sitting in the Ghost, looking at a picture of his mum and dad, just going over. It's almost a summary of what's happened over the past 4 years, saying, what I've done that for you, try to continue what you've done. Those kind of those thoughts there. And then it goes on with Agent Callus and Ryder Azadi escorts Governor Price back to the Imperial complex. I love the line, the day I betrayed your empire, Governor, was the day I finally stopped betraying myself. That's when Callus really completes his arc of going from as imperial as you can get to a full-blown rebel, and I absolutely love that part. They meet Hera and Ezra, who then informs Price it's time for her to start helping them free them from the Empire. She suggests that they transmit the victory code, which of course is the all clear, everything's fine, we won, so that when they're flying back, no one stops them from getting in. Sorry, excuse me, nothing in there. The rebel team then consisting of Hera, Ezra, Sabine, Zeb, and Chopper, along with Rex and Gregor, Ketsu, Hondo, Melch, everyone piles into this transport, flies into the city, gets let in with these clearance codes. Again, Price is just going, well, okay, I'll let you in, but as soon as everyone finds out what you're doing, you'll be in trouble. Now, Callus, again, Dave, you pointed this out, is the fact that he's kind of wearing what looks to be Luke's outfit for episode 6.
It was George who pointed it out, yeah.
I just couldn't unsee it. I was there like, wait, what?
Isn't it?
Like, that's Luke's episode 6. He's a green costume away from being Luke.
I mean, literally, he's wearing a Death Star gunner outfit, I think he's wearing, but the similarity is absolutely glaring. As soon as you said it, literally, you're right. I can't unsee that. That's who he looks like walking through. It's like Luke with mutton chops and lovely hair and boyfriend Zeb Aurelius.
Yeah. So at that point, they land on the platform. Zeb creates a distraction by pretending to escape, and Ezra just takes down a bunch of stormtroopers with his lightsaber. The blast doors start to close, but Zeb holds it open long enough for everyone to get through. Ketsu manages to open the door, allows everyone to get in. They cut the Imperial comm system.
After that, can I just say, did we hear from Ketsu again? I don't recall seeing her at all.
Yes, she was in it a few times, but not much. She was more of just you saw her but didn't say anything.
Yeah, she is here.
But together, you also then get one of the funniest lines ever in Star Wars, which is when Hondo and Zeb fling
the pig
Melch up into the sky again. They can fly. Which just brilliant. Of course, he lands on the glass and just like smeared it, and that was cracking. So yeah, distraction is then they fire at Melch, but of course they don't pierce their own glass.
I loved it. That scene, that moment felt like Pixar in like in a complimentary way. Like it was the offhand. It was the joke that kids and adults will laugh at.
Yeah,
and it was just all the stormtroopers just shooting at the bulletproof or the laser-proof ceiling. It was just like a fine moment that made you just love a character after one moment.
Yeah, completely. Which does actually play off later on. At this point, Price just goes, well, okay, well done, you won't be able to defeat the Empire. But there he gets her to initiate Protocol 13. Now, Protocol 13 is when every single Imperial outfit in Lothal goes back to this dome. But what we find out is the dome's actually an Imperial ship, which I like. I like the concept that they would just use a ready-made headquarters. They would just dump it on a planet, be intimidating, use it, and as soon as they're done, go off somewhere else. I quite like that. I don't know what you guys think of that.
It felt very, 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 very familiar to a film I'm really struggling to put my mind to. I mean, so there's one already, Man of Steel, where they just land down, take the land, and go away. There's so many, but I think that the thing that hit me most is just when it with that shot of it in the sky. I just sat there like thinking like District 9, like just hovering above the city. I did like the fact that it was a ship because it looked exactly like the Senate from, and I don't mean McDonald's Space, I mean the actual Senate building. It always looked like that, so I never liked that. But then when it raised to flying, I was like, oh, okay, this actually kind of makes a bit of sense. It's the Empire's presence.
It quite sent me back to Episode 1 and the Trade Federation. Like, they would have taken some idea of those spheres from the ships, from the droid control ship, and gone, actually, we could use that to land on planets. So I like that sort of, it didn't mention that it was, but that's where in my mind I went to that was something that the Emperor was aware of. They had this technology of these flying domes. He loves a circular sort of ship, so does the Emperor. And so it was really cool to have that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then you have, for me, what's kind of the throwaway moment, which is when you have Mark Matin, Wolf, and Vizago back at the Ghost. Mark's saying they've got a special mission. That we'll get onto later on. I know that is the controversial sticking point of this episode. We will leave that until the end. But at that point, though, he is cut short by an attack from Rook, who was last seen falling to an unknown fate in the previous episode. He managed to overpower the trio, though, and just kind of get a bit of a fight, but basically just...
For an assassin, he doesn't really kill anyone, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's not a good assassin.
But it did give Zeb one of the best lines with Thrawn as well. When actually Rook meets his demise inside the power cables at the bottom of that thing it's turning on. Later on in the episode, they're trying to get basically the shield is brought down by the rebels eventually, but they're trying to get the shield back up.
We'll get to that point, damn you.
But it just gives the best line ever. I thought that made me laugh almost as much as the pig flying line.
However, so back at the dome, with Rook goes off to the dome, nicks one of the hovercarts. Callus kicks off Protocol 13, but Ryder steps up to the mic and then kind of impersonates Colonel Yularen.
Not very well.
Not very well, but I liked it. And then, of course, then she goes, Price just murmurs, they go, oh, you're too late, as the Chimera pops out over the dome. Knowing with an attempt to launch it, the destroyer it'll smash and destroy and cause carnage everywhere. So Hera aborts the launch. Chopper puts Ezra in a hollow with Thrawn, which then again has one of the best bits with the contact between Thrawn and Ezra. So with the most brutal line I've seen in the cartoon of, well, yeah, you think you've won? No, you've just put all my guys in one safe place. Open fire on the city, and it is a brutal, incredible moment.
I love this moment, George. I thought
this was the scene where, when I say you're lacking a villain for a series in the final ever episode, and to just it almost like jump out of hyperspace, it's just there, and it's that old boy, and it's just his face on the screen. It's just you've moved. It's the return of his theme, the kind of the slight church organ, everyone is gone. And as soon as he says you've removed everybody from the area, you're kind of there like, do it, like go on, and you just know exactly what's happening, and it doesn't go on long enough. Like I would have loved him to have gone all Empire and just carried on destroying them. Even though Ezra had submitted, it was a truly phenomenal, villainous moment.
He didn't go full Hux.
No, but I mean he's more composed. And
Yeah, definitely.
I know who I'd rather have leading my army.
It was just exceptional. That moment, again, Thrawn comes in and steals. Whenever he's on the screen, it's his scene, no matter what else is going on.
Yeah.
When he just unleashed that barrage, and you could see all the town crumbling and everything falling apart. It was like, again, we're watching a kids' animated show where a town of people are getting absolutely blown to smithereens with no thoughts for anybody who's there. I loved that. I absolutely loved it.
It is one of those moments where you realise it's Dave Filoni playing the line perfectly between it being a kids show and being a Star Wars show. Because he dips across the lines often, hence where you have the Loth Cat, but then you have things like Thrawn just obliterating a city. It has both parts to it, and that was one of my favorite moments. But then it also then showed the complete character of Ezra and how far he's come from Series 1 to Series 4, when he goes, okay, stop it, I will come to you, we'll discuss things. Of course, everyone then goes, no, what are you thinking? That's stupid. And then one of the better moments is that connection between Sabine and Ezra. As everyone's discussing a plan, Sabine distracts them because she knows what he has to do. He knows what he has to do. Escapes to the ventilation shafts. And before you know it, Hera turns around to ask Ezra's opinion on one of the plans.
And he's gone.
And he's gone. Because at this point, of course, Rook's been able to take back the shield generator, make sure that it can't be shut down. It can't be brought back up. And it is an incredible moment where he just goes, okay, I know what I need to do. There's no words needed between Sabine and Ezra. And then, of course, Ezra arrives at the Chimera, is immediately placed in binders, kind of like when Luke is brought before the Emperor. And it kind of mirrors that with then what happens with Thrawn bringing Ezra to the Emperor.
Let's get into, because this, I think,
this is the meat. This is a brilliant part.
For me, this was probably the ultimate part of these. That I adored this scene when the first time we see Palpatine turn up as that image, and it's not the Emperor that we see.
No, not the Emperor that we're used to.
We see Sheev Palpatine.
Yeah, it's Sheev Palpatine.
It's the benevolent Emperor, not the actual Emperor.
Whether he's putting on, this is the face that the rest of the galaxy see. But why he's been because in episode 3 he tells everyone he's been horribly disfigured by the attack on the Jedi. He must have healed, maybe, because he looked marvelous. He looked a picture of health. But oh my word, to see Ian McDowell playing that role again.
Now,
of Sheev was
my one opinion on this particular part. Before we get into what he said, was that in World Between Worlds, I didn't think he sounded like the Emperor.
Oh, I thought he did on some things, but I didn't like that they added in his the corkscrew spin sound effect when Ezra was running, and I didn't like stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
however, he then played it much better for this.
Yeah, I thought, going back to that last one, the first scene when he's on the hologram, I thought he sounded perfect.
Yeah,
but
I didn't like the scene of him in the chocolate frog, because it didn't sound.
Said Ashoka instead of Ahsoka, which is like, come on.
Yeah, that was very odd. But
you have Filoni sat right there.
This is why you now understand why they brought him back, because they wanted this moment. And it's in Battlefront 2, where if you walk around one of the levels, you can see a poster, which is actually Palpatine, as like young Palpatine disfigured. It's like the propaganda posters. And I don't know where I've seen it in the new canon, or if it was the original EU, where the Emperor would like show the people that he was fine all along, that it was like the whole fake identity type thing. And I'm convinced I've seen that in the new Star Wars canon, but I could be wrong with that. But it was a brilliant moment, because you know eventually he's going to switch into Hooded Emperor. And the build-up...
I don't recall seeing it in the new canon myself, but I will go through the collection and work that one out. But yeah, so then it moves on to this. Now, it's part of the temple that we saw in World Between Worlds and Wolf the Door. And what the way he plays it is a very similar manner to how he plays Anakin. However, in terms of the temptation, however, he knows what Ezra wants and is able to offer him a different type of temptation. That's the genius of the Emperor, is he knows what someone wants and is able to twist his plans to their desire.
This what he obviously shows Ezra his parents in this portal, which I'm guessing again is still this world between worlds that he's showing him a window into, not the actual thing, because we know that the Emperor cannot reach.
No, the Emperor cannot reach that, and
that's his ultimate goal. He wants to be in there so he can control everything. And he's not just wanting to control an empire; he wants to control everything, the universe, everything in it. And this is his way to do that. And he has not figured out how to get through it in that world yet he knows Ezra can. Using his parents was a genius moment as well.
This was the last, as far as we know, is the last part of the portal that you can use. So it might actually be the ending of the world between worlds, which is my point from earlier, saying that although they brought it into existence, they've also kind of taken it out of existence as well with the ending and the finale, which as long as no one ever uses those portals again, and then you can kind of forget it, like you can forget the Mortis trilogy ever happened. I'm absolutely fine with that. But still, that's not the point. The point is, though, you have Palpatine, who really is trying to represent himself as a benevolent, all-knowing father figure, in a way of trying to go, look, I'm not this bad guy, I'm trying to help you. And the way that Ezra's parents are used, the way that you actually get a bit of satisfaction with the fact that he's able to kind of talk to them and kind of see them. He's allowed to have one moment of connection before he really knows what he has to do, by destroying the temple. Now, that bit then ends up with probably one of my favorite scenes, with the hologram flickering between the Emperor as he's portraying himself and the Emperor that we all know and love, and the voice changes as well, and McDermott absolutely nails it.
George, thoughts on that?
When he starts switching, because you get the glimpse that it's going to happen, and because you think, okay, I want to see him as I want to see him as Sheev, but I also want to see him as
the Emperor we all know and love.
Well, I love both. I actually prefer Episode 3 Palpatine. I don't know, I'm in a minority on that.
Yes,
but I just love Ian. I just love Ian McDermott, to be fair. They needed to get rid of. It would have been a shame for Ezra to only see him, because at this point, Ezra would not have known that it was the he wouldn't have known the Emperor was in the world between worlds, would he?
No, he just knew he was getting attacked. I don't think at any point he saw who was attacking him.
So the reveal was, I thought, loved it. One of the things I also loved, really little moment before all of this, before he sees his parents, when the Emperor releases his guards. That's very traditional. Even Snoke does it to Rey in 8. It's one of those things. But I love the fact he uses the Force through
the trimmed down guards.
Yeah. The guards.
Was that before he went in the? Yeah, it was before he went into the actual tunnel, wasn't it?
His mom and dad, and he loosens them just as he's about to begin his mind games with him. So that was, I thought, a really nice little moment.
Yeah. It was.
It was a great scene. I'm happy they ended up destroying the temple again.
Yeah, well, it's something that had to happen. You're right. For them to be that in canon still would have messed a lot of things that's still there, and someone could find it very easily. So I like that it got destroyed. Obviously, everyone knows I'm very much of the different opinion of Mortis and what we had in World Between Worlds, which I loved. But you're right, George. That flicker between Sheev and Palpatine, that flickering hologram.
What I love was the voice, the inflections he managed to just flip on a dime was perfect. I think that World Between Worlds is a warm up, but what you actually got in the finale was just stunning from McDermott.
That you can absolutely, like George just said, you can absolutely see why he brought McDermott back for this. It was the right move. No one else would have pulled that off and come. Yes, Whitworth would have probably done a great job, and you went, oh yeah, it was pretty good. To have a McDermott doing that role again, pitch perfect voice work, the flipping it from the Emperor to Sheev was I absolutely adored this. It was probably other than the last few minutes, I think was probably the highlight of the episode for me. I absolutely adored this part. To bring it full circle, to bring that character back, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But while we are on, can we talk about the guards that we saw?
Yeah, go for it.
Are they guards? I think that's the real question.
Well, yeah, they
are.
They were dressed like a cross between Praetorian guards and the rebel, the royal guards, with tiny short helmets and not the robes.
Considering how, though, at the precise moment in time this is placed, they are more an early version because the Death Troopers can no longer be used so much because Scarif.
Royal guards were in protecting Vader in Rogue One. They're in Vader's chamber.
Yeah, but Death Troopers, they were in the episode before, weren't they?
Yeah, so
they ruined them.
It just seemed a really strange design to not put. I mean, we've seen them before with sort of the robes to the side. We've seen them sort of. Yeah, we've seen them in that design where they've had the robes open. I love seeing. I did like the Force Pike. They've always been called a Force Pike as a weapon.
And now to finally see it,
what it actually does, that was quite cool. Yeah. But the guard design, I wasn't keen on at all.
That was very Last Jedi-ish when they had Ezra kind of up in the air.
It's the go-to move now.
It is indeed.
It was just one of the moments where Ezra's going to get out, but it was so random just to chuck them in. Like, wait, there's a hologram of the Emperor, so we're going to have the guards guard the hologram. Like, it just felt like I don't think they would actually need to be there.
Yeah.
And we've never seen Thrawn with someone like that. We've seen him with Death Troopers.
Yeah.
So if they were going to stay with him, it felt very odd, but I didn't mind it because you know what's coming anyway.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to get out, so it wasn't like they've destroyed a bit of canon. It's like introducing time travel. They didn't ruin that. But they might if they continue the series. But yeah, it was just a very bizarre moment, I thought.
It was, but yeah. As I said, what happened inside the temple was just incredibly good.
Yeah. And then after that, we moved on to it's the battle for the generator, isn't it? After that, was the major scene.
Yes.
Oh, do your description, then let me talk because I've got something to say.
Okay, cool.
Go on.
No, it's about the generator scene of the pig.
We'll get to that in just a second. So, and no, actually, the guards happened afterwards. They went outside. They were trainee royal guards, actually, kind of from Legends, like from Crimson Empire. So they're kind of guards, kind of not. That's kind of bringing back something from Legends, kind of not. Anyway, no. So this happens afterwards because they paralyze him, bring him up in the air. They bring in this the stormtroopers, and he has to then get out of that. But anyway, arriving in the shield generator chamber, though, you have Rex, Ketsu, and Hondo. They're all in there. They get pinned down by fire, and then Rook arrives as well with a pair of Death Troopers. And you can see this fight is really starting to get into it. As you know, before we got to the destroyer, they're making plans of how they can bring the shield generator back online to stop the destroyer from obliterating the city, and how they can get the dome out, how they can get Plan A back on the track, and things like that. And then we have this moment which we're about to talk about, which is when Melch rushes into the chamber and actually shot in the chest, and we thought he was killed. I must admit, if they left it as that, I would have been quite happy, as it meant something to Hondo.
Right, when you see the pig die, you think he's dead.
Yeah.
I sat there with like a PTSD flashback to Rogue One, like, if they're going to kill the droid, they're going to kill everyone in the room. And I sat there thinking, here we go, like, get your hands together, like, this is the ending we've all been waiting for, the massacre to save them.
But they can't really do that
then,
in...
Well, they shoot the clone, they kill the clone first, it's like, yes, one down.
They kill Gregor, which, that was a hard one as a fan of Clone Wars, yeah.
It's a great moment when Hondo's like, he's chatting with him. But how does a pig survive a point blank
blast the chest? Yeah.
Yes.
And Gregor doesn't.
Yes. Look, and the clone who's designed to fight can't. I mean, did they have the wrong clone army? Like,
yes, entire army of outlaws.
I don't want to moan that no one died because I did that last season finale. I didn't mind on this because it was a minor of minor characters, but I do wish though that we had lost one or two more main characters. I thought it's very odd that Wolf survived. I thought, and like we know that Rex got his epilogue moment, and they confirmed that theory.
They did,
but I don't know. I love the generate scene, but it felt very Rogue One-y. Like
it did actually. It was a point I had was bring up that it did feel like Rogue One. That whole battle scene around there, and them trying to get that generator and the firing back, just a big back and forth firing scene, felt very much like K2 holding off the stormtroopers.
It did.
In look and everything, it felt so much like that.
Especially when Gregor was shot, they really did start to feel like everyone's just going to die, but to have the means to an end. But talking about the means to the end, though, Zeb and Callus managed to get Zeb's fighting Rook. Callus manages to use the distraction to activate the control panel. And Zeb, at this point, though, is fighting Rook on one of the power conduits. And Nogri is quick to... the Nogri is Rook's species. Quick to set the high ground and leave Zeb hanging by his feet. However, Zeb manages to overpower him, and then with one of the best things, basically takes his leg and just traps it in between two of the metal bars and the conduit by bending them around it.
An old wrestling move in the ropes.
That's all I can think of.
Get ready for 619. And then at that point, though, or was it the 501st in this particular instance? At that point, though, Zeb manages to get out, and I love what happens next. So the power conduits turn on, and Rook gets absolutely fried. Now, at this point, though, Thrawn is trying to get hold of Rook, and he's like, Dave, I'll let you do this. You want to talk about it?
It was one of my favourite moments where Thrawn tries to get through to Rook to find out what's going on, because the power generator is starting to come back on. And Zeb answers him to say, he'll talk to you in a minute, and the generator comes on, and obviously at that point, we get fried Rook. You don't see it, it's off screen, but he's obliterated, to which Zeb literally goes, maybe he won't.
It was more like, sorry, you'll have to call back. He's a bit busy at the moment, and then gets fried. Like, never mind about calling back.
It was
so dark, it was so brilliant.
Again, another excellent moment of humor in this episode. Flying Pig and Zeb's line were two really like comedic highlights in it. So I really enjoyed that, and it was that was where the battle was starting to be won. And then I think after that, the generator got put back on, and we got to sort of our Ezra.
Space Worms.
Yeah, we'll get to the in a second. So you have that moment between Rex and Gregor, though, which was a nice moment. And there you have Melch come back and Hondo pretending not to care, but
it was nice. The Hondo saying, "Oh, now he was a great friend, and if he was only here now,
I would tell him how lucky he was to work for me."
I loved Hondo. I'm happy he didn't die, because you think because he was in Clone Wars and this, you thought they're going to tie all their acts together, but it's quite nice that he got to sort of straddle on.
I love Hondo. He's one of my favourite characters in all of Star Wars.
I'm happy of I guess of the two kind of non-Jedi or Sith like Clone Wars characters, everyone's favourite is Cad Bane and Hondo, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very happy they didn't bring back Cad Bane for this.
Cad Bane didn't need to come back.
He'll come back, but he would have been too big a name for, I think, Rebels, and he would have had to have a definitive ending. Whereas Hondo was that likable villain where you could do whatever you wanted. A bit like Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean, you could do what you want with him.
Yeah.
Whereas like Cad Bane, he was. I mean, they were going to give him the dent on Boba Fett, weren't they? They were there with that last year, and I'm happy. I thought he would come back eventually, but I'm happy he's not. I hope there is plans for him in the future. But it was a nice sort of like farewell moment for Hondo, I guess. But also, I'm very surprised that Callus made it out. Although then again, with Callus, where's he been this year? I thought he was going to be General. I thought he was going to be General Draven.
No,
not General Draven. Sorry. No, what's the one from?
No, because his full name is Alexander Callus, so he is.
I know, but he had the beard and the hair.
He had the beard and the hair.
It would have worked. It would have worked well.
He looks more like Nadine than anyone else, kind of. But
that's what I meant. Sorry, the hair. The hair one. Yeah, I don't know why I said the other one from Rogue One. I didn't mean to. Not Draven.
Because Draven's more associated with Rogue One episode 4, whereas Nadine's more associated with episode 6. But
no, it's only 4 years. He could have made it.
Yes.
Because Rex did, even though he's physically advanced, and I'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that very soon, because at this particular point, though, you have...
Space Moms.
We'll get to the program in a second, because you have, at that particular point, actually, you do have Mark Masson, and Wolf going off and doing their special mission, where you have then Ezra on the bridge of Chimera coming in, blasting the Death Troopers before informing Thrawn that he's lost. At that point, then you have one of the crew members announce that several unidentified objects have entered Lothal's orbit and destroyed the blockade.
But they mentioned the whole blockade has just vanished, not flown off. It's like, nope, they've just gone. And then, we get the reveal of why.
Yeah, so you have Captain Pelion, who is a reference to his protege in the old Legends trilogy, but it's cut off, and he looks up the viewport, see the ghost descending with a massive amount of Purgil. I've seen that frequencies are called the strange space whales, or worms, as George calls them, which we've only seen in one episode in season 2. Yes, it's a nice callback, but we'll get onto that in a second. And Thrawn goes, whatever happens next happens to both of us, before the tentacles then just smash through it, grab onto it. Ezra uses the Force to push Thrawn into the tentacles, caps him up, and then you have the lines of, so I see your defeat like many arms surrounding you in a cold embrace, which is the prophecy from Bendu.
Yeah,
that's Thrawn's prophecy from Bendu at the end of season 3, which again is another tie-up. At this point now, though, Ezra's chatting to Hera. He refuses the order of escape, goes, up to all of you now, and remember the Force will be with you always. And with that, the Purgil launched to hyperspace with Thrawn. And you've had that beautiful conversation beforehand between Ezra and Sabine and everyone else. But at this point, though, they go, right, we can now go back to Plan A. They get out, the dome launches, and self-destructs.
But yeah, so let's digest before we even get to final closings of the episode.
I've left the closing epilogue for now. We'll get onto that in just a second.
Space whales. You're right. It was a good. When it first happened, I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a nice. You're right. A nice callback to that they were there in the universe, and this is the Rebels universe. Although we're in the whole Star Wars universe as a whole. To have these called back, at first I was like, yeah, but I'm sure there's other ways to do it. For them to, I did like that. Obviously, the goodbye between Ezra, because Ezra's holding with the Force. He's got Thrawn in one hand, keeping him held against space whales, and with his other hand, he's keeping the door shut as well. So he's not letting anybody, because he's got both hands tied up basically while using the Force. For him to get his goodbye, to say that he knew this was his plan all along. He was going to end up, no matter what happened in that ship with Thrawn, he would be ending his story there. And then, obviously, the whales, as they do, go into hyperspace with their big, long tentacle things. And off they went. And the end of Ezra Bridger's story and Thrawn's story, for now, because it has been confirmed that they are alive. Dave Filoni has confirmed.
No, he hasn't confirmed it in as much same date as in they are alive. They're alive, but we don't know what's happening with them in terms of there's a lot of.
It was nice to tie up that why Ezra wouldn't be an effect in the original trilogy. They don't know where he is in the universe.
That was my biggest worry coming into this series, is what they were going to do with Ezra and Kanan and the events of 4, 5, and 6. And I've said it all along, and I was so happy they managed to tie it up in a way that, yes, gives Ezra more to do in the future, but means he's completely out of 4, 5, and 6. Anyway,
George, space whale thoughts?
I hated them. Right, so the Bendu prophecy of I see your defeat. What was it?
Embrace
arms around you in a cold embrace. It's like that, isn't it? I kind of imagine Thrawn dying in the arms of his enemy.
So you defeat like many arms surrounding you in the cold embrace.
Yeah, and the keyword defeats, which he knew he'd be alive. If you're going to kill Thrawn, you're going to do it on screen.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the tentacles. I didn't like the. It felt like the Eagles in Lord of the Rings, like, oh, save us plot device. That one will do. it's made me intrigued based off the epilogue, but I wasn't really digging it. And then you get Ezra's half sacrifice of turn the I don't know, turn the Kraken's hyperspace button on, and they're turning blue. They're gonna go, and I liked it and I didn't like it. You know, that kind of middle ground. But I understood that it tied into Ezra, but to take a random bit of filler episode and make that part of the finale.
I love it, actually.
I mean, they might as well have had AP-13 flying in with them at the end. And,
AP-5 not part of this episode.
That's the one.
Yeah.
AP-5, not part of
has he even been in this series?
No, he was part. I think it's in the first half. Like
the last time we saw him, he was hanging out the back of a ship singing.
Yeah, I think they probably realised that no one liked AP-5.
There's a massive following for AP-5 online. I was on a Facebook page about Star Wars Rebels, and someone was mentioning AP-5, and I just by chance said, I think the comment was, "Oh, where do you think AP-5 is right now?" I was like, hopefully being melted down for parts somewhere else. And I got absolutely flamed online for that by probably teenagers. But it was ridiculous. This love for AP-5. I'm so glad I didn't come back.
I'm happy he didn't come back.
I'm happy he didn't come back. I cannot stand it.
But I just...
Him and Phasma are two, and Jar Jar are my least favourite characters from Star Wars. I can't stand any of them.
I put Bendy around them. He's just a giant fart cloud, isn't he? I liked the worms. It's left me. If anything, it's just left me intrigued. Now I know what's happened. Yeah. I wanted them to get rid of Ezra so that he kind of an input on 4, 5, and 6. They've done that in a great way.
Yeah.
Ahsoka as much. Jury's out. Thrawn. Now I don't know if we're going to talk future stuff in a minute, but
we'll finish out with that.
I am very happy that Thrawn could play a part in the future of Star Wars.
Let's talk about the sacrifice before I get onto the epilogue, because the epilogue I think deserves its own conversation.
Because it's the other thing.
Me, it was actually not the saving grace of the episode, but it was just the ultimate point of it. But still, go on, George.
I was going to talk more about Ezra, but now we're on the epilogue. I'll wait for that. I was going to say the epilogue it's like tying the bow.
It is, yeah. But no, talk about Ezra for a bit more if you wish.
Right. I feel that he's too powerful for a kid that's still a Jedi, kid.
He's still a Padawan, yeah.
I mean, he's what is he? He's 14 in Series 1, and he must be 18 or 19 in this.
Yeah,
and now he's
about the same age as Luke. I think he's born a couple of days.
Yeah, actually, he was born on Empire Day, so Ezra must know. It was Luke. Yeah, Luke must be older. By a couple of days.
He's older than Luke because Luke was born after.
It's a couple of days either way, definitely.
Don't forget though that Padme was sat in the Senate chamber as the Emperor.
Oh, that's Empire Day. Okay, so he's like 3 days older than Luke.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke doesn't really get powerful until the age 23, 4, and okay, it's a bit different learning. He didn't have a Jedi apprentice teach him. Luke had Yoda and Ben Kenobi. I feel that Ezra. It seemed like they're going to do more in season 3 of him, but they've tamed down his power a bit in this.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it was a grand ending of the episode, but I feel that he was maybe too powerful, and this has got me slightly wary of what's going to happen in the future. I'm not going to hide the thoughts that not in just a sadistic way that I wanted him to die, but by keeping him alive but hiding him from the events of 4, 5, and 6 is maybe the smartest thing they could do to an animated Disney show.
It was also, don't forget, we had the after that sacrifice, we had everyone escape from the dome, and you had
Governor Price going down with the ship.
Yeah, she went. I served the Empire to the end, which was a nice little moment there. You had Sabine use Ezra's lightsaber to get out of the dome. They got into the Ghost, and you actually then had that moment. So you had Sabine go for Ezra and Kanan, and she blows it up. Hera starts to analyze the hyperspace route, but then you have this pre-recorded message come up, and he explains several paths in front of him, and it wasn't his preferred option, but it's the one that he knew he would have to take. His kind words for Zeb and Hera and everyone else, but he goes, then Sabine, don't forget encountering you. So I couldn't ask for a better family, and I can't wait to come home. And that's the ending there. And then Rex brings them back by reminding the allies the Emperor won't let them keep Lothal. They have to
defend it.
To defend it, yeah. And of course, we know that what Hera does next, she goes back to Yavin, maybe to even talk to them about it, but of course we know what happens with Scarab and everything else.
Well, yeah, we have Hera go back to the thing that she fought in the Battle of Endor with Rex, which is your your Inception boom noise moment that he was him all along.
Yeah.
You had Callus go with.
Well, the other episode, just to say, so basically, don't forget that the end of the episode is them saying we don't need an army, as then the Empire
didn't bother to attack on themselves.
Didn't bother. So basically, they had the Empire. Then what was left came out, and the crowd's just like, yeah, no.
Well, I guess the other thing there was that the Emperor was only really there for that Jedi Temple.
That's all it was. Literally,
if there was nothing
of a story.
If there was nothing of value, the only reason they go to Jeddah is to get the Kyber.
Well, they went to Lothal as well for the mining. There was a mining corporation, which was the Price Mining Corporation, that was taken over by the Empire, which is how Arinda actually ended up serving the Empire. She went off to Coruscant, served the Empire, then ended up coming back as the governor. That's part of the Thrawn book. I do recommend. I haven't finished reading it. I'm over halfway through, and I'm loving it so far. But that's the light ending before we get on to the full ending with the epilogue.
Also, I don't know if it's the epilogue or now, but like it turns into Asgard.
More people than you've ever seen in your life walking around.
Well, it's the building.
Oh, the building. Sorry, the back.
Precisely Asgard from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, and I sat there literally staring in disbelief, like, what is this? Like, I swear there was a giant ball there.
No, that was first shown in a previous episode with a vision from Ezra.
But it does. I mean, it kind of leads us into our first look at Lothal as it was always meant to be seen.
Yes.
I thought with the
very first blue sky as well.
That's what I was going to say. In Rebels, I don't know if it was Rebels Recon. I saw that, or I read it online on the StarWars.com. That literally Dave Filoni had said, at no point should we have a blue sky in this. It's got to be left for this one final shot to see how it should look. This is your look at Lothal, and that's really when we start our epilogue. Last few minutes of the episode, and it starts beautifully with almost an identical shot for shot of how the first episode started. But instead of Ezra standing on the top of what was his house at the time, that lookout tower, Sabina's standing there.
Cosplaying as Ezra. I'm sorry, but I know they say it's expensive to like change animation. But they
changed her hair. That hair was horrible.
That was without doubt probably I don't care about haircuts, but that was the most distracting thing I think I've ever seen in a Star Wars film. Like, imagine like if Mace Windu had popped up in episode 3 with like a mullet. Or his like Pulp Fiction hair. I know what they were trying to do. That because her and Ezra are close, she just adopted his haircuts.
Yeah,
but that was real silly. Like
that was annoying. But anyway, so at that point she's just staring out over looking at the city, and then you have
two X-wings.
Yeah, 2 X-wings and what looked like a Republic ship. Yeah. Come over a Blade ship, which was Old Republic / New Republic ship. Come over and you have the voiceovers that explain how the Empire never returned to Lothal. The attack we were expecting never came. How the Empire that once seemed invincible was starting to crumble. And then we kind of have each character's ending. So Zeb took Callus to meet Lyra-san to meet the remaining Lasat to prove it he didn't. Wipe them all out, and
just like 90% of them.
Yeah, just like 90%.
Just the majority.
It's also welcome back as one of them. Just except that he's also known as a genocidal maniac. But we'll gloss over that fact.
It's like the Emperor didn't really execute Order 66 because like Yoda, Obi-Wan, and King survived.
Exactly. Hera. It's then talks about Hera, who actually survives, of course, on Endor, but also Rex. Commander Rex at this point was then said to have fought in the Battle of Endor, which proves categorically he was the scout trooper with, he's the one dressed in the scout trooper armor with the beard and the mustache. I don't care what Dave says, it's now officially confirmed as canon.
It's confirmed as canon and it's wrong.
No point has actually anybody come out and said it's definitely happened. Rex fought at the Battle of Endor. He could have been anyway. Yes,
he could have been in the sky.
He could have been, and yes, all right. It is more than likely that they're going to aim at that guy outside the
what
are they? Yes, the base at Endor. That is him.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, yeah, go on.
We also get, I was going to say, in that scene, we get probably the
other biggest,
the most terrifying thing of it.
So you then
actually, no, sorry.
It's then revealed that Hera had a son, Jason Sandula, and it's
Spectre
actually
7.
Spectre 7. It's also confirmed to be the spelling Jacen, which is the exact same spelling as Jason Solo from the old Legends canon, which again is another really meta reference.
And that child grew up to be slayed by Kylo Ren at the Academy.
Most likely, all became a Knight of Ren.
I just, it was a weird thing. Like, when did Kanan and Hera get turned to both uglies?
Now that
He's got the answer. He knows this.
Yeah, I've worked this out to not to a fine degree, but I have worked this out. Just because I was like, wait a second.
Given her cycles,
no, not that finally. Jeez. No, between I can't remember the name of the title of the episodes before. She gets captured.
We can move on if you want, Phil.
No, it's fine. It's between when she gets captured and when
he dies.
Yeah, before that episode,
he impregnated her when he pushed her away with the Force.
Yeah, they kiss in an episode in the end of the first half, then the second half. Between that break,
that's when magic happened.
Yes.
Can we talk about how it was half Twi'lek, but it was actually just a human with green hair?
It looked very much like there's a green character in Teen Titans. I don't know what he's called, but there's a little green guy, and it reminded me of him. Yeah. The design and the eyes and everything looked this little like this creature from a character from I don't know what the character's called, but in Teen Titans I've seen him on TV. But yeah, it was a weird look for them. I guess they had to go. Yeah, he's part of Hera and he's part of Kanan. Although it's never said that it's Kanan. We know his father's like Sabine said in an overview, so it must be Kanan's. But it's it was a weird one. It looks really funny. Not funny, but it looks. I don't know.
It just looks a bit. It looks a bit like Baby Shrek, like from the Shrek films. Like
it was just off. Something wasn't quite right about it. Yeah.
But then we get to Sabine then on herself saying, "As for me, Ezra said that she was counting on her. She thought she was protecting Lothar, but then she realized something beyond that. And then we see Ahsoka, who then she goes carrying a staff, and then they look at each other and go, right, Ezra's out there somewhere, and it's time to bring him home before they leave in the ship. And you had that final shot of the Ghost crew as the mural. And the series over. The very final bit was that Chopper was voiced by Dave Filoni all along. Which came as no surprise, but it was also quite funny that they saved it to the last episode to go, yeah, by the way, it was Filoni.
Getting back to the overlay of everything that happened towards that very end scene.
Yeah.
That shot of Ahsoka stood in the cloak with the staff. Absolute goosebumps for me. For a character that came into Clone Wars and was vehemently hated by pretty much every Star Wars fan out there, to have turned around to now be probably
one of the most beloved.
One of the most beloved characters, a fan favorite now. To see her still in the story, still around after Endor, not playing a role. She's said before that she's no Jedi when she was fighting Vader. She's something else. She's had this time away where she went after we last saw her with Ezra. She went back into her little triangle door, and whatever she's been doing in all those years, I'm guessing we're going to find out at some point, be that book, comic, or whatever the next animated series is. I loved that a shot of Ahsoka back. That was a proper goosebumps moment for myself. George?
I loved it. It did remind me a lot of the end of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I guess it was playing Binary Sunset too, so I guess there's always that comparison. But I thought it was... What did you guys say? I watched the last episode, but the impact of Ahsoka being alive was that she's in a timeline during these Rebels finale. She could be alive in the timeline of episode 4, 5, and 6.
She is alive.
Phil, you wanted her dead in the finale, and I was down with that. But then you did. I forgot that she wasn't in it until she actually popped up.
Yeah,
and it was pretty cool because you're spot on, Dave. I hated her when I started watching Clone Wars. And then you do grow to like her as it progresses. And it's a shame because where Clone Wars got axed, it was just after her trial and she walked away. And we know that Dave Filoni always said that she would have last seen Anakin before he flew up for the start of episode 3.
Yeah.
So that still makes me feel there was maybe one season of Clone Wars left, which would have been insane.
Yeah.
But seeing what she's become and what it's going to hold for the future, I'm very intrigued to see what their plan is with Ahsoka, because I think I said this to you guys on the chat group that there's 30 years between episode 6 and 7. We know the first 2 years because of Battlefront 2 and because of Aftermath.
It was the Aftermath trilogy, yeah.
Yes. There's a gap. And let's be honest, we know the First Order's going to rise, right?
Yeah.
But that's going to be... They're not going to be even a minor threat until at least 20 years after.
14.
I know they call in their stuff, but there is a gap that needs to be filled.
Yeah, Bloodline and the book gives you the very start details of the First
Rise
Order.
of the First Order. But what was before the First Order? To me?
The cartels, the pirate cartels came, the drug cartels came.
Is this new canon or old?
This is new canon.
So pirates came.
The Hutts were gone with the death of Jabba. The Republic quickly got rid of the rest of the Hutts, but the cartels came back. They were busy establishing the Republic, the Senate, helping worlds recover. So the cartel came back. So you have that part of it. You have planets that just didn't want to be part of the Republic, that they had to then help heal but leave alone. There's so much work to do that undermined.
What I'm saying is that a cartel is not a threat that would belong in this
series. There is
a very famous Star Wars trilogy called Heir to the Empire, starring a Grand Admiral Thrawn, who in this canon may or may not be alive.
Yes,
I don't think it will happen precisely like Heir to the Empire. I don't want it to be like that. But for a period of maybe...
Rook's dead.
that's the other thing. That's good, though, because it means you'll go out in a better way.
Yes.
But it means maybe there's a period, maybe 8 years after episode 6, that could wrap up in 3 years after that. You know, I'm not going to ABYs, but say it's after the Battle of Endor, 8 BOE to 11 BOE, you could do a series. I don't know. Star Wars Resistance has been filed for copyright, maybe?
There's huge scope. You've got about a 15-year window to play with. This
is what I said to you guys. I think if they're smart, they could put an animated series here. It would mean you can bring back some characters if you need them, i.e. Luke Skywalker, because why wouldn't you? Precisely, have Jason Solondor die, have young Ben Solo, have a Ahsoka. So there's so much potential, but it makes you kind of think that they've brought Thrawn back, and their plan was not to kill him after 2 series. They've clearly got even longer plans, and not just books. If they're not going to kill him in an animated series, they're not going to do it in a book or a comic or a game. They're going to do it on, a new series.
Now people are aware of him like you see on screen, they will finish that character on screen.
Yeah, it's like Maul. Maul needed to go on animated series because he was brought back on animated series, not film. Yeah. Thrawn, go for it, do something. And this is my hope now that we know they're well underway on the new series, not even the live action ones, but the animated. Yeah. And I'd happily bet some money that on the launch day of the Disney version of Netflix, they'll have a Star Wars animated series to show, and they'll be debuting it at Celebration 2019. And I think Thrawn will be in it, and I think so will Ezra. One thing I want to say about going on this too much longer is, if you look at Star Wars Rebels as a whole, it was the perfect animated series for Disney to debut, because when they took over, they were filling in the period between 3 and 4, because they haven't finished their timeline for between 6 and 7. Yeah. Episode 9 has now finished as a script. That to me means the trilogy is finished as a story. They now know what they can start delving into in the new EU. And, Rebels bridged that gap. It's introduced new Force things. It's introduced new characters. It's kept some of them alive. It's really the perfect thing that Disney could have done. Because if you didn't take Clone Wars again or finish Clone Wars, you've been so restricted to that timepiece. Yeah. Whereas now they've opened up things, and because we've now had a series set between 3 or 4, the appetite is gone for another series there. Give us something in the future that we want to know more about.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, you nailed it there, George. It was the perfect show for this time. But now that the new trilogy has been established, now that the old... to quote Kylo Ren's, you've got to let the past die, kill it if you must. They've left the original trilogy alone now. They've finished up with Clone Wars and Rebels, so now they can literally just branch out wherever they want.
I'm really excited for whatever is next. I think it was Dave Filoni tweeted, "We're finished now. That's it. Wrap. And now let's start again. Let's begin again. Yeah. So they've definitely. You're right. They're probably well underway of plans of what's going to happen. And you've got to think, because of where they left that off, it will be something to do with Sabine and Ahsoka. Is probably my thoughts. They will come into play somewhere along this. I think we'll definitely see Ezra again. Yeah. And I'm hoping, obviously, because we had such a time gap from Rebels finishing to the epilogue, you've got that big gap of the original trilogy films, that we see a much older Ezra. And what has he been doing in this time? Where did the space whales take them to? Why weren't they able to join back? They've got to have gone massively far across the galaxy to not be able to help.
Oh, they went into the unknown regions and everything. There was so much scope. Yeah.
I mean, Thrawn's from the unknown regions too.
It is, yeah. Yes. So,
the Chiefs are a really unexplored race. They could bring them back in.
You're right. I definitely think it will be with Disney's new streaming app. It will be part of that it comes into. We're going to talk about this much more on Wednesday, but Jon Favreau is bringing out a series, and that his series is lined for that, a TV series, not a live action show. So we'll be talking much more about that on Wednesday. But yeah, I think it'll be ready for launch of that app as well. At least the first few episodes will be.
Yeah.
And it's left me at the point where we've got to the half point of the season. It was quite disappointing. I know we were kind of feeling a bit meh about the whole Rebels season 4. Had some of that towards the second half, but I think it finished out perfectly. And looking back as a whole, you're right. Absolutely perfect story for Disney to put on TV for kids to get. A whole generation of kids are going to get into Star Wars because of this. And it's a great platform to see it on. And for the characters that they've seen, and for them to build that into Clone Wars, you now watch that as a whole sort of show now that Clone Wars just leaks into Rebels is a great thing. And I'm sad it's now over. Now it's ended. A bit sad that it has, but I say really, really excited for what's coming.
Indeed. Yeah, George?
Like I said before, Rebels is now in the perfect place for what comes next. Yeah. It's Disney, but Disney, if you look at the first 6 episodes of Rebels, it's the most Disney Star Wars has probably ever been. Whereas now they can probably take a bit more risk now they're established within the brand. And I think it's a perfect lift off from what Dave said, introducing a new audience. That's a very big part of what's going to come next.
They've come a long way from stealing the Meilu run to obliterating a city.
Yeah.
And that's the very first episode. They still create blasters in their Meilu run, and by the end of it, Thrawn is literally obliterating a city. They've come a long way. They've done a lot, and I am impressed. And I'm looking forward to what the future has to offer. And I think that's about it. And is there anything else you guys want to add?
No, just it's really that's it. It's been great talking about this again. It's been a great show to talk about, and hopefully whenever comes next, we'll do exactly the same and talk about that and enjoy that and have disagreements about that next show. The future's here. The future's here, and the future's Star Wars. Everywhere, all the time, and that's only a good thing, I guess. In part, we'll find out as we go on how much this is going to change the Star Wars lore and what's coming with whatever the next story is. Dave Filoni in charge, I don't have many fears. He's been a great creator for Star Wars, and as close as they're going to have having George Lucas there. He learned from George himself, so to have him in charge of this division still and in charge of whatever the next series is, bring it on.
Anything else I told you good?
I'm excited for what the future tells for Star Wars, especially the animated stuff now. Just move on and do something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, no, agreed. They've now got the opportunity to push the boat out, do something new. They can take more risks. They can go in a direction they want to go in, and I'm also very excited to see what's to come. And I agree, it'll probably be debuting next year. But for now, in our immediately future, don't forget to come back next week for our big episode. We've got a lot to talk about next week with the deleted scenes and the Favreau announcement, things like that. So we'll get onto that next week. But for now, we be one of the Force. May the Force brothers be with you. Good night.